our what's the broadcast sector look like?
Oh, even worse. Very little coverage. What little you have is kind of crisis-oriented. Even along the border, very few U.S. stations go in and out of Mexico, and the networks, I mean, it's even worse.
You've gone beyond Mexico. You know, you seem to, I don't know if you're one of those adrenaline junkies, but
No.
You guys went to Honduras, to what is now called the most violent city in the world. And so I guess you had the experience of one, and you had to compare it to the current one. So let's...
Honduran military police lead the way on a drive through territory torn apart by gang warfare. This is Chamalecon, ground zero in the fight to take back neighborhoods controlled by violent gangs. The strategy: restore security and spruce up an area that has become a virtual ghost town.
Está más o menos abandonada.
Sí, está como abandonada.
Volunteers with the Mennonite Church clear weeds surrounding abandoned homes, all under the watchful eye of military police.
¿Se puede observar usted?
Our guide is a captain in the new police force, created this year to restore law and order.
Y que ellos puedan habitar en sus viviendas tranquilamente.
The goal, he says, is for people to live peacefully in their own homes. We're in what's known as a casa loca, or crazy house. This home used to belong to a family. Now you see it looks like it's almost been demolished. There's rubble all over the floor. Everything's been torn off the walls. We're in the kitchen. So what happened here? Families were forced to flee from this area. Whoever lived here was given 2 hours to get out by gang members. They then took over the property and used it for criminal activity. Some flee not just their neighborhoods, but their country. Authorities say MS-13 and the Mara Salvatrucha are a major reason for the mass migration of kids. The choice: stay and join the gangs or escape to the U.S. The military police arrived here in May. Slowly, gang graffiti is being replaced by messages of peace. But it's just a beginning. Real progress, Hondurans say, is when people feel it's safe enough to come home.
So this was a series of stories we did looking at why the children were fleeing across the Texas border primarily, and families, and going back there to trace the root causes, because we'd seen the humanitarian crisis, and a lot of people said, oh, they're just trying to come for amnesty. Well, there were rumors of amnesty, but there was real violence. This was one of a series of stories. The military police has to really obviously gain the trust of people, and that was another challenge. It was hard to even interview people in that neighborhood. They were afraid they'd be attacked later just for talking about these very things.
And so did you find the people frightened, hopeful, desperate? You know, Alfredo was talking about the people of Mexico. What about the people of Honduras? What was there any hope there, or are they looking to the future of getting their children to America, to take that risky trip that we'll talk about in a minute, to take that trip just to get them out of that situation?
Yeah, very hopeful, like Mexico. The ordinary people trying to do extraordinary things. I mean, we're not going to show you that story, but we were able to go into this slum area where the women were kind of the leaders of the slum, and they were the liaison with the gang members so that they could try and get their children education, healthcare, a better life. And that's where the technique of rolling down the windows that we had kind of come up with along the border, the women were using that when they brought us into the slum. They said, roll down the windows, we want to make sure that they can see who you are. So it was interesting to see that translated. But there are very courageous people doing amazing things on a daily basis there and in Mexico.